We about ready to go home. Grew up in a good old Baptist church. Oh, Lord. Praise Him. Praise Him. Praise Him. Praise Him. Jesus, blessed Savior. Oh, He's worthy to be praised. Come on and say, praise Him. Come on and lift your voice and say, praise Him. Come on, catch a whole church and say it. Praise Him. Oh, He's worthy. Praise Him. Say, Jesus, Jesus, blessed Savior. Blessed Savior. Oh, He's worthy. He's worthy to be praised. Oh, from the rising of the sun. How long? Until the going down of the same. Oh, say He's worthy. He's worthy. Jesus is. Yeah. Worthy to be praised. Hey, praise Him. Hey, come on and say praise Him. Oh, He's worthy of the glory and all of the praise. Come on, say Jesus, blessed Savior. Oh, He's worthy to be praised. Come on, say God is our rock. Hey, hope of salvation. Hey, a strong deliverer. Hey. Oh, yes, He is. In Him will I always trust. Yeah, say glory. Hey, say glory. Hey, come on, in all things, give Him glory. Say Jesus. Say Jesus. Hey, hey, Jesus. Come on and call His name, y'all. Hey, come on and say Jesus. Mary's baby Jesus. He's my strong tower Jesus. He's my way maker Jesus. Come on and call His name. I want you to say it too. Come on and help me call Him. Can you help me call Him? Can somebody call Jesus? Anybody in here knows Jesus? Have you ever tried Him? Won't He make a way out of no way? He's my friend down to the end. Come on,
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon. Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine.
Except for all the pollen. And I'm not complaining though, because there could be a lot of other things going on that we just couldn't bear. So, but it's just a joy to be here with you today. And we have a very special guest, someone that all of you know that you've come to respect and depend on in this community, and that's none other than Mrs. Gwinnett Westbrooks, who is the local president of the NAA. She's the president of the local branch, NAACP, and we're going to be talking about some issues that are of concern. We can always depend on our local branch to be involved in things that are beneficial to the community. And so our special guest is it's just a treat to have her with us here today. We would encourage you to tune in to the NAACP's program on Monday. What's that? 4 o'clock, because they share lots and lots of information. You can't hear enough about your freedom. So, today, before we go to our special guest, though, I want to remind you that we still have these petitions that we are having filled out, and we've got over 500 people who have signed these petitions, and these are in opposition to the bus fare increases. We've already told you, we discussed this last week about how what our poverty rate is in Macon Bibb, and how many people are homeless, and how many people, 20% of our people don't have a car. And so all of that sets up the stage for us opposing the efforts. And I don't know who came up with that brilliant idea. It was obvious that they had not checked the stats in Macon Bibb, or maybe they just didn't care. Some people don't care, y'all. So, but whoever came up with that proposal, they were not thinking about those folks who I just cannot afford any increases. We just heard Georgia Power. There's an increase. They're going to give us a little credit, $2 or $3, but then they're going to increase the rates 17%. Water rates, you just ended up with a storm drainage fee last year that we started paying. There are just so many things that people have to absorb. And so our whole thing is that the Macon Transit Authority gets millions of dollars of your local money. They get millions of dollars of your federal money. I believe the budget for Macon Bibb County for Macon Transit was 2.9 million for this fiscal year. and the federal government matches the local money. So if we put in 2.9 million, then the federal government also they budget 2.9 million that comes to Macon Transit Authority. All this is your money, folks. It's not somebody else. Nobody sends it from overseas anywhere. It's your money.
Right.
And it goes to provide services for you. And then, in addition to that, Macon Transit has received monies, hundreds of thousands of dollars from other sources. I'm waiting for County Manager Dr. Keith Moffitt, who promised me he was going to get me all the total figures that are appropriated to Macon Transit so I can give you the full picture of just how much money they have. By the way, Macon Transit just hired a new person, someone they call a um, planner, transportation planner. We're also going to report to you what that salary is. And when you have a choice between a position and raising the bus fares, which way do you go? What does your heart say? What do the figures say? And the only thing that I've heard folks say is that it's to keep up with inflation. Well, what about the inflation that these folks who are trying to struggle to ride the buses, what about the inflation that they're having to deal with?
Right.
And it's their money that you're taking and spending.
Among other increases also.
So we're going to
Housing.
go ahead and bring our guest on in. So I won't be here just preaching by myself with no collection. No collection. Our special guest today, as I've told you, is none other than Gwinnett Westbrooks. And let's see. Oh, there she is. Yes, yes. And we want to congratulate her on her recent retirement. She has worked at a number of places in Macon Bibb, and they've all been helping agencies. All been helping agencies. And our engineer is saying we got to talk into the mic, and he's got to get this reverb out of mine. See, they love us over here, so they see instantly just took care of it. Gwinnett, welcome
Thank you.
to Ask Elaine. Oh, by the way, for those who've tuned in on AM, FM, welcome to Ask Elaine. Those who are on Facebook Live, welcome. Those of you who've tuned in by any other medium, we welcome you. Harriet Taylor is with us, and of course Maria Bryant is there. Just good afternoon, freedom fighters. Yeah, we've got a seat over here for you, Maria. That's your seat over there. It is just so great. And those of you who've tuned in via Facebook Live, would you please like and share this so that we can remind others that Macon's Talk and Information program is on the air. We are here each Wednesday from 3 to 4. We welcome you. We thank you for your loyalty. And we hope that each time we come on that there's some information. This is your voice, Commissioner Elaine Lucas, for 2 more years only, y'all. So y'all got to start getting ready.
But you all know she's
but
gonna still be active now, don't
Oh,
you?
look, y'all gonna see me more than you want to see me. They probably have seen me more than they wanted to in the past. But I'm committed to this community. And now, as I was telling a group the other night, I was on a panel where it was elected female officials, and we were talking about how we got involved. And I said to people, my mother and father told all of us that if you are fortunate to live in relative free freedom, and you were fortunate to be able to get an education, and you never missed a meal, you
Right.
never went without the basic things, you owe something back.
Right.
You owe
Right.
it to
Right.
give back. And I have said till they find me sitting up in my chair, not moving. I am going to continue doing all that I can. And I know
Right.
Gwen is committed that
Yes.
same way. And the
Yes.
true freedom fighters are the ones who are committed. So yeah, we're gonna be around. You'll we'll you're gonna be seeing us because we've got to deal with things like folks raising the transit, but the bus fares
Right.
on poor people, and folks changing charges on people. They
Right.
they
Right.
ticket them for one thing and change the charge,
Right.
which
Upgrade the
ups the
chart.
okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna I'm gonna stop talking. We're gonna just talk about that. But welcome to Ask Elaine. Thank you so much for being there. All right, um, Gwen, tell us about your background, your work background, the kinds of things
Okay.
that you've worked on,
Okay.
because a number of people might not be fully aware of all the things that you've been involved in and your background, your experience.
Yes. Well, basically, I was employed with the Medical Center Central Georgia Hospital
Hmm.
for over 22 years. I And then I went from there to Department of Family and Children Services. So I'm actually retired from
Hmm.
both entities, and I was a played had different roles at the medical center over the 22 years. I worked in the business office. I worked in the Anderson Health, where I was a special accounts processor, where you basically help people with indigent care,
Hmm.
medication for indigent care. I was over the state cancer program that dealt with people that had cancer related illnesses, and find programs to pay their medical bills and for them to get their medications. And so um, I, played a big role in. That's how I actually really was able to connect with the community in my
Hmm.
beginning at the medical center. Even after I retired from there, I was people that I, worked with there. They would always called me after I
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
So I was basically a social worker, auditor, and all of that with the at the Medical Center Central Georgia Hospital. But I find it so rewarding in the position of being able to help people that couldn't afford health care and medications, and helping those people in those fields, and being responsible for writing off debt, and getting whatever assistance filed for them to pay off their medical bills and different things like that. So
Hmm.
that was a rewarding job for me. Went to the Department of Family and Children Services. I worked there almost 17 years. I retired last year. And so basically I've worked in the capacity of helping people basically all
Hmm.
my life.
Hmm.
I joined the NAACP back in 1999. So I've been active
Yeah.
since
It's a
then, and
long
been a
time.
member, and held different positions within the NACP. I am, as Ms. Lucas introduced, I'm the president of the NACP here, branch here in Macon. I'm also the third vice president for the Georgia State Conference, and I'm the district coordinator for the state of Georgia.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. All of those involve a lot of work
And also, I have
advocating
my
for people.
certification for paralegal. I'm also a paralegal.
Yeah. And she does some catering. She didn't tell you. Maria says she's great president. We want to welcome Shirley Lester. Good afternoon to you, and thank you. Y'all, please like and share so that these folks will be reminded that they're missing the most informative program in this area. Ask Elaine. Um, Now, I'm going to tell you, if you're not a member of the NAACP, and I always say this because when David and I get calls at home, Senator Lucas and I get calls at home, and people are wanting to find the NAACP, we always wake up. And before we give them information as to how to reach y'all, we always ask them if they're members. And I
Right.
know they don't want to hear it because most of the time it's some stuff going on. But I want to reinforce for them that
Mhm.
you can't have a strong organization
That's
unless you
right.
have the memberships. You have to have
Right.
the support. And so, all of you listening, yo, we're gonna put contact information in the chat. I know Maria will share that, so that when you are ready, and welcome Wade Horton, who is just a freedom fighter himself and lifts weights and stuff. We just want to let you know that an organization is stronger if there are memberships.
Right.
And one of the reasons that certain areas get more attention than certain other areas is because those folks are vocal and engaged
That's right.
in the process, and they demand, and people look at numbers. So y'all please get this information that's going to be shared in the chat here, and please join the NAACP.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to Gwen and let her talk about the local branch. Let her talk about the hot issues, the things that are going on right now that you're working on. And I know there are many of them, but just tell us
Yeah.
the ones that are the most troubling.
Yeah. And so we just want people to understand that the different committees that we have, things that we handle in the community, and so we deal with housing issues, we deal with education. A lot of times your kids get in trouble at school or whatever. Um, we deal with those type of issues. We deal with employment issues. We deal with our veterans.
Mhm.
We have with the veteran affairs. We deal with the criminal justice. We deal with political action, which deals with voting education, protection, voting rights. We deal with those type of issues. So we have committees for all of these different things that I spoke of. We have different committees. So when people join the organization, we try to and what we start doing now is having a when new people join, we have a like a new
New member.
membership class
Mhm,
to
mhm.
basically give them information on the bylaws of the
That's great.
NACP,
Mhm,
and to make sure that we have people. I just find that a lot of times when you ask people what they do and get a little background information on them, they fit better into
mhm.
what committee they want to be on. So that's the reason why we have that, to try to get people engaged in those
Oh,
committees,
that's good.
to
That's
work in those
good.
committee
Like they
communities.
do at the church when you go and join the church, they have the a lot of churches
Yeah,
have
so
a
we've
new
started
member
doing that.
stuff.
We think
Mhm,
that would be beneficial.
mhm,
But the organization has been around since 1909. This is a very strong organization, and we're not going anywhere. We've been here for a long time. But I do want to talk about a couple of the issues that we're focusing on right now, and one of them is, and I'm not going to talk about it much, but one of them is the housing issues. We
mhm,
have a lot people. We have a lot of housing issues right here in Bibb County. We have to get people educated on the laws when it's dealing with
mhm,
with rental, when you're renting or even when you're buying. But we got to get educated on things that we need to do as
mhm.
far as keeping up with your receipts and reading your when you get your lease, read your lease. Whenever you
Yeah,
pay your rent, make sure you pay your rent and a money order. Keep up with your money orders. Because we're having a lot of issues where people are coming back asking for money that
yeah,
people have already paid.
yeah.
And so um, another thing that we've done is um, we went to the Capitol. There's a
Mhm.
housing bill 404. I'm trying to put this back up here. I don't know
Just
how
put
I
it
did
down
it.
there because you see that sign that says, "Please do not
Yeah.
touch." They put
I
it up
knocked
for
it off
me, so
by
I
mistake.
leave stuff.
And so
It's okay.
House Bill 404 is dealing with some changes uh, changes to that bill, House Bill 404. And so I was at the state capitol. Maria and I was at the state capitol last month, or for Housing Day at the state
Mhm,
capitol. We also spoke with our senator, Senator
mhm.
Lucas, and he took a picture with us and took us in the chambers, and so we talked to him about supporting that the changes. And so some of those changes um, are involved in, right now you really don't have, you have to pay your rent, but you don't have anything saying that, the landlord has to make sure that the wherever they're renting
Yeah.
is fixed in a condition
Yeah.
where you can live in it, and that it's a safe condition to live in. So those are some of the changes in that bill. Is also asking for right now with the increase of housing, rent is just off the roof.
It
People
is.
cannot, and
It is.
that's why I say it's what you was
Mhm.
talking about the increase in the bus route. People housing, the amount of rent is people can't even afford to live here in Bibb County because of
Mhm.
the increase of rent. You're talking about $800-900 for a 1 bedroom, and so that's the thing. And then you have to three times the rent amount. That's the amount you have to actually earn in order to be able to rent an apartment.
Mhm.
So that's one of the changes that we're asking for them to change to
Mhm.
1 or 2 times
Mhm.
the amount of your instead of 3 times the amount of the rent. So there's some different changes that we're asking for in
Mm.
dealing with mental health and different things like that. People that have criminal records and different things like that. That's in this House Bill 404 that we're asking for changes. So just stay tuned on that. We'll give you
Mhm.
an update that we know that it crossed over to the Senate. It's
That's
already passed
great.
in the House and it's
That's
crossed over.
great.
And if it passes the Senate, then just making sure that the governor signs it. So
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
just we'll just keep you updated on that. That's a
Right.
very important issue with these housing issues. But the other issue is with the criminal justice. Um, we back in October, maybe y'all remember that a lot of about 32 people were arrested back in October on October the
Mhm.
9th, and they were the stunt,
At Central
City Park,
what used to
the
be
Central
Central
City
City
Park.
Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called something else now,
Carolyn
Creighton
Creighton
Park.
Park. Mhm.
So about 32 young people were arrested back on October the 9th, and they were charged with unlawful gathering. So we didn't really, the NAACP really didn't get in. The only involvement we kind of got in it was when they, was talking about they told their cause, and it was going to be 90 days before they would release it. So I did make contact with our sheriff in reference to that, and he was saying that they were not going to
Mhm.
hold them that long, they were
Mhm.
going to release them.
Mhm.
But as I was sitting in the courtroom listening to some cases, basically, was actually there with someone else that had been actually brought to court for violation of probation, and they was planning to arrest her that day, but they did not arrest her. But I was listening to these cases, and I kept hearing this charge of stunt drive, and people were pleading guilty, and you could hear people in the courtroom saying they've changed the charges. That's
Mhm.
not what we were
Mhm.
charged with, and
Mhm.
I'm not pleading to that. So um, someone told them that the NAACP was there because
Mhm.
the person that I was with was there. So anyway, I ended up talking to these young folks and did some investigation and found out that their charges had been changed, had been upgraded
Mhm.
to stunt driving and reckless
Mhm.
driving. So uh, did some research, and then I reached out to our sheriff. And so, but what's happening is that people that actually drove a car to that park that day was arrested.
Mhm.
Whether you was stunt riding, just the fact that you drove a car there. And from listening to the young people that were there, they were just there as spectators. I was not there, but all 32 people were not stunt driving.
Mhm. Mhm.
From what they're saying, that the people that normally do the stunt drive had not even arrived yet. So that was a concern to me, because what happens is when you upgraded the charges to um, those type of charges, depending on your age,
Oh, yeah.
it affects your
Yeah.
license, it affects, you know,
Insurance.
insurance, and it could affect employment, which it
Right.
has. And so that was a concern, because now we're talking about a social and an environmental injustice, because you've actually caused a hardship to people when they actually had a unlawful gathering, which
Mhm.
should have just been a
Mhm.
citation and they paid a
Mhm.
fine. But what they do is they upgrade it from municipal court to state court.
And the fines
The
are
fines,
higher.
fines
Uh-huh.
are higher, and then so what they're not telling these folks is when you come to court, if you don't have the money to pay the fine, then you're going to be placed on probation, because that's what's happening. They're
Mm.
being placed on probation. Um, and I've spoken to several people after this. One after we did a press conference
Mm-hmm.
and about this, and so we've been getting some phone calls. And one young man's father called, and he basically expressed. He said, "We saw you on the news last night, and I just wanted to let you know that my son was affected. He's 20 years
Mm-hmm.
old. He is has a very good job in a type of. And I'm not going to say what kind of job it
Right.
is, but
Right.
he has a very good job that that where it helps people
Mm-hmm.
and helps this community. And so his job could be in jeopardy depending on how this probation. He has a fine of almost $1,000 um, because he's under the age of 21. His license has been suspended for 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
which they
Mm-hmm.
didn't tell him none of this when before he pleaded guilty. And then his dad's insurance has
Oh,
increased.
of course.
So
Yeah.
you know, it's we're not condoning someone
The
breaking the
stunt.
law
Right.
because stunt driving
It's dangerous.
is
It's
dangerous, and
dangerous. Mm-hmm.
so um, but at the same time, don't upgrade the charge if you don't have evidence
Absolutely.
that they were stunt driving. You haven't shown these young folks any evidence that they were stunt driving. You say
Mm-hmm.
you got surveillance, so a lot of these people don't know. They just pleading
Mm-hmm.
guilty to go ahead on and get it, but don't know
Yeah,
that
they were
reckless driving
thinking they were
stays on.
taking care of it
Right,
quickly when they really were
right,
buying in. Our statistics person, Patrick Davis,
right,
says that under the statute, reckless driving is a misdemeanor offense. This means that a person convicted of reckless driving may be sentenced to up to 12 months in jail or on probation and may be required to pay a fine of up to $1,000
right,
plus court costs and probation fees. So
right.
here we go again with that
Statute.
probation
Right.
issue. And as long as you're under any, what's that? Um, y'all have to. I just got a new phone. Somebody just got my new number. I'm
I
gonna
already
give
got
y'all that new number. I'm gonna put that new number in the chat. I've had the
Thank
same
you.
number for 30 years, and I don't recognize the
So,
ringtones and stuff. So I apologize. We were referencing what Patrick has
right,
included in the chat,
right.
and he's
That is
provided some
correct.
information. We want to welcome Randy Crawford. Hello to you. We're glad to have you on. We're glad to have all of you. Remember, this is Ask Elaine. This is your talk, news, and information program. We're on Wednesday from 3 to 4. Our special guest today is none other than the president of the local chapter NAACP, Miss Freedom Fighter herself, Miss Gwinnett Westbrooks. And she's been talking about the focus of the NAACP. And when I want to go back to the housing. I got a call from a lady who was in tears, and I believe it was yesterday or Monday, one of those days. And she was in tears. She was under Section 8. She was
Hmm.
62 years
Hmm.
old. She had been in this apartment for 12 years. She said that she complained to the management
Hmm.
company about some repairs that needed to be
Hmm.
made. And they
Hmm.
reluctantly came in and made the repairs, but they set her furniture and stuff outside. And when the repairs were done, then they brought it back in, but it had dust and dirt and stuff. And she told them, "Y'all need to clean my stuff,
Right,
clean
right,
up."
right.
And so they were very disrespectful to
Hmm.
her and uncaring. And after her continually asking them, they finally brought it on back in.
Right.
And then she spent time cleaning it and all of that. But she says that because she has complained, they are now telling her that she's going to have to move. And so I have made a call to several different places, and NAACP was going to be the next place. And I
Mhm.
do have her information in the office. And when we leave here, I
Okay.
will get that information to you. I'll probably text it to you since I got
Got your phone.
communication now. But those are the kinds of things that y'all depend on the NAACP for. That's the first thing you think of. Let me call the
Yeah.
NAACP, NAACP. But if you're not a member, then it's not as strong as it could be. So I'm just encouraging all of you to please join. I just renewed my membership. Senator has renewed his. And at a recent event that y'all had,
Right.
you got how many?
17
17 new
members.
members, and
Mhm.
people were coming in. And it is to our best interest to be a member of the
Yeah.
NAACP. I'm just telling you, when you need the help, you want to be able to say, yes, I am so glad that I got a membership and I'm supporting this organization, because nobody gets paid with the NAACP.
We
People
sure
think we
don't.
think everybody gets paid for
Yeah.
everything, but they don't.
We don't get paid
They
at
don't.
all.
They don't get paid at all. As a matter of fact, they do fundraisers to come up with monies for these special projects that they do.
Right.
And they don't just advocate for people, they do memorial type things like to the sanitation workers, our
Right.
public works department folks, all of those folks in honor of Dr. King.
Right.
They partner with other organizations to help to promote different things. They support all of us who have people calling us all the time. We always send folks over to NAACP. Sometimes I just don't even, I just give the name and the phone number. I don't even call you and tell you that here's another one. But we send them to you, and
Right.
you take this seriously.
Yeah.
You handle it. I remember a case of a mobile home. Tell
Mhm.
us about that situation several few years back.
Yeah.
What was happening at
Yeah.
this mobile home
Yeah.
park?
And with that, they were actually people had actually purchased their mobile homes and was not able to get their titles. And so, one night at our meeting, a group of people just came in and they were expressing their concerns about that. And after I did the investigation and did my research, I found out that the owners had actually borrowed money on the
Mm-hmm.
property, which included the mobile homes. And so we, at that time, we, basically met with Commissioner Lucas because that was her in her
District.
district.
Mm-hmm.
And so we met with Commissioner Lucas. We met with the actually met with the tax commissioner because these people were
Mm-hmm.
you had to pay taxes on the property also. But we were able to work something out with the tax commissioner where they wouldn't put a lien on these people property until we can get with the owners and get it resolved. But we did meet with the owner eventually. There was an in between person that like a office manager. He was actually located in Augusta somewhere, but
Mm-hmm.
we eventually got to the owners, and he came down, and basically some people had been wrongfully evicted, and I was able to get their money back and all of that. People were being evicted, and we were going to court with people in in reference to their evictions because the money they say they were owed, they didn't actually owe that money. But to make a long story short, he came down, he met with us, and he was basically in tears almost. And he was just, he could not believe that what he thought that we got paid for what we did. And he just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
believe that the amount of
Mm-hmm.
work that had been put into this, that we did it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but everybody that had bought their mobile homes, we got their titles to their mobile homes, and they were able to sell or whatever they wanted to do if they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
stay. But they got titles to their mobile homes, and the liens were there were no liens ever placed on there.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually went back and paid over $22,000 and paid all these people taxes, back taxes. He paid all of that, so it was a very successful
Mm-hmm.
this is the type of stuff that we handle. And so, um,
Well, NAACP is to be commended, as well as other organizations, A. Philip Randolph,
Yes.
National Action Network, all of those organizations that have been around who are actually doing work and who don't go out and, they don't wave their own flags or beat their own chests. They just let their work speak for them. But there's not enough people who are supporting these efforts. They could
Right.
get so much more done. All of you have talents, all of you have access to information, all of you have worked in businesses where you learned certain skills. You're a people person, you want to see folks not done wrong, you want to
Right.
see good triumph,
Right.
then you ought to be involved with the NAACP. They have a handful of really, really dedicated people who do all this work, and I am amazed. I'm honored to be a member and will be a member from now on. And you can see the information there, the Make a Bib NAACP, the address, the membership types.
Right.
And we at EL High School, I think we promised that we would support maybe 10 youth
Mm-hmm.
members. So
Mm-hmm.
if there are young people who are interested, we will give first preference to those students who attend EL High School Academy. And that's another thing. Ms. Westbrooks has been a supporter of the EL High School Academy for a number of years, has been in attendance at some of the graduations,
Yes.
has encouraged students. They
Right.
provided some support to our students when we have graduation. They give gift bags to those who have been involved in
Right. And we want to
huge
do so much
numbers of
more.
community
We want to do
services.
so much more.
Mhm.
Yeah. We.
And they really are an exceptional organization. I do believe that Pastor Lisa, if Pastor Lisa is listening, she is going to be recognizing some of your membership
Right. She
too
is.
at the
Yeah.
awards.
Ministry Alliance. Yes, they will
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And we certainly support all of that. And we want to certainly thank all of you who have tuned in today to Ask Elaine. Our program today centers around the local branch of NAACP. Gwen Westbrook, who is the local president and wears many hats, but one other hat that she's wearing now is retired, although you wouldn't know it. But she's been talking about some of the projects that the NAACP has undertaken, some of the areas of concern. If you were involved in receiving a citation
Mhm.
at Central City Park, which is now Carolyn Creighton Park, in honor of the founder of the Cherry Blossom Festival, Carolyn Creighton, for those who didn't know who that park was renamed
Mhm.
for. If you were involved and you received a citation and your citation was changed, you received an original one and then
It was
it
upgraded.
was upgraded, would you please, you can either contact the NAACP, we've got the information
Right.
here. If you know someone, would you please give them this information so that they can make contact with the NAACP and become a part of doing justice? We're not saying that people were right to
Right.
be congregating or
Right.
anything, but they have food trucks there.
Right.
And so you're anticipating that there's going to be a crowd of people who
Right.
will be there
Right.
for an activity.
Right.
And so it seems to me it's a different situation and one that calls for a sit down, a
Right.
meeting with everybody
Right.
involved. So
Right.
what are the plans going forward for these folks who I know are going to make contact?
Right. And so what we're planning on doing is, with the help of our commissioner, we're going to be having a town hall meeting next week. I think we talked about preference, maybe
Maybe
Thursday,
Thursday.
next
Mhm.
Thursday. We'll get back with you on the location. She's going to be helping us work on that, getting a location. for the town hall meeting. I think it's very important that we have a town hall meeting to discuss the issues, discuss these issues. So because it's more people involved, and it's not just that particular day. I'm getting some information, um, other information where other people have been arrested. We're not arrested. They were stunt driving here just recently, and they were given a citation, but their
Right.
cars were towed.
Mm-hmm.
And most likely they'll have a fine, which that's the way it should have been back in October.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but that's not what happened. So, um, I'm sure that they probably going to be charged with stunt driving and all,
Mm-hmm.
because they were actually caught stunt driving. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the only thing that I'm saying. You know, if they were stunt driving in October, then if you can prove that, then the charges fit. But if they
Mm-hmm.
don't, then don't upgrade somebody's
Right.
charges. You don't have proof.
That's right.
But that is our plans to actually have a town hall meeting. We asked for the charges, whatever people that have not actually gone to court, we're asking for their charges to be, if they do not have evidence to show that these people were stunt driving, we want these charges um, changed back to unlawful gathering. For those that have
Mm-hmm.
already pleaded guilty, we're gonna have to work on that, because we want these charges reversed. If you don't
Right.
have proof, then we want these charges off these people records. They're saying that it's not on their record, but reckless driving does not come off your record.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if that doesn't work, our next step is to actually start protesting.
Well, we're starting a list of things that need to be protested. This is one of those things that if there's not a reasonable resolution to it, but y'all folks got to come forward now.
Right, right.
You can't just sit back and expect somebody to handle your case and you not step forward,
Right,
because
right.
it's you that's adversely affected. You,
Right.
your parents, some of you, your parents' insurance went up. Some of you lost your job. Some lost a license. A lot of consequences to stuff. And it is hoped that you won't be involved in any more
Right.
activities like this. First of all, because it is dangerous. And secondly, because
It
you
is
just don't
dangerous.
want these other things to happen to
Right.
you.
Right.
If that's what keeps you from being in places, see, a lot of people end up in a place and they don't mean any harm, but you end up with terrible, terrible outcomes. So you gotta think. You gotta think, because you want to be able to come home to your folks.
But we
Go
are
ahead.
in the process of going through the court documents, because once
Mm-hmm.
they go to court, it's public record. We can get the information.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the process of trying to distinguish who's already been to court and who has
Mm-hmm.
not been to court,
Mm-hmm.
because I do have a list of the people that were arrested that night. But the other concern is that there were 32 people arrested, but there were
Yeah.
over 60 cars towed.
Right.
So I got to find out now. We have to find out now, is those other 20 something cars that were
Uh-huh.
towed, were they charged or were they not charged?
Uh-huh.
So because they
Uh-huh.
wouldn't be on that arrest record. So
That's why we need y'all. If y'all were involved in this at all, you need to make contact. And the information is right here on the screen, on the chat. If we're doing all we can to try and help. And parents, this impacts you too, because some of you
does.
have these kids, these young folks, on your insurance, and your insurance, if it hasn't gone up, it's about to go up. So if there's anything that we can do to rectify this kind of situation, and the part that bothers me the most is the part where you upgrade a charge because it goes from a lower court to a higher court, which has more imprisonment time
Right.
and the possibility of higher fines.
Right, because if you miss paying your probation, they can revoke your probation and lock you up. Because
Right.
I saw that while
Right.
I was sitting in the court.
Right.
People were actually arrested that day because they were not able to pay money. And that's another thing that we have. It's actually I was told that I'm not a lawyer, not, but I don't have to be a lawyer to know what the law
They
says.
say
But
you try to practice.
but it's
When
unconscious.
they get mad, they say she trying to practice law. See, that's one of those things. We can't help people, or we're trying to do this, or we're
Yeah,
trying to do it.
but
But
it's
go ahead.
unconstitutional to lock someone up if they honestly do not have the money to
Mm-hmm.
pay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that's what they're doing. They're telling people they're going to arrest them if they don't have the money, and they're bringing them back to court. And because they don't, they're not paying the probation. So that's that's my concern.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of these young people that really have good jobs, but you're supposed to, before they plea, you're supposed to tell them that their license is going to be suspended.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And
Tell them the
yeah, before
consequences.
they plea, and that's
Yeah.
not what's happening. So you got these people coming down. If I was going to be on, I can remember Miss Lucas. I got a ticket in Tweeds County, and I shouldn't have got that ticket because I wasn't speeding, but because I know not to speed in Tweeds County.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
I had gave him so
Or
much trouble.
ball.
I had the lawyer told me, the lawyer told, he said, you don't gave these folks so much trouble, they're not going to erase the ticket. But he told me, he said, when you come to court, just bring the money with you to pay your fine. They reduced it, but it wasn't a whole lot. But
Mm-hmm.
I came to court with my money, because if I hadn't, I would have been on probation.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what's happening with these young folk. When they come, they may have had $300 before they came, but when you're not telling, so when they get to court and don't have the $300 with them, they're being put on probation. So it's just, they're not being informed.
And probation is is just as bad as some other. I mean, it puts a a lock on a lot of things for you, and depending on what it is, and you with this extended probation, um, it's keeping a whole lot of folks on some of these things, keeping a whole lot of folks tied down and not able to vote for a long time, depending on the
Right.
charge, depending
Right.
on what you're on probation for.
And
So,
one like girl would say her, with she's young, but she has a job, but her mother said they've already checked to see whether did another background check on her to see if whether or not she's been convicted of it. So I guess they'll determine whether she'll keep her job or not. So this is the
see,
type of
y'all,
this upgrade. This is very serious, you all. This
yeah,
is very
yeah.
serious.
So y'all need to be making contact with the NAACP so that a community effort can be put. And we are not saying that you were right in what you were doing,
Right.
but what we are saying is there was some wrong done to you if your charge was upgraded and if you were not told what the consequences are if you plead.
Right.
Those kinds of things are standard rights that you have. And if your rights were violated, then what we're saying is we need to come together and work on righting the wrongs. And that's all we're saying. I want to go back, Gwen, to the housing, the bills that you and Maria were at the Capitol advocating for. Some of the key provisions of those bills were that landlords would be required to provide rentals that are fit for human habitation.
Right.
We all have gone through and we have seen relatives of ours, maybe some of us who lived in places that were the rent was $25 a week, and it was not really habitable.
Right.
The lady that I was referencing, that I'm going to give you that information on, she was saying they found mold and all kinds of stuff in her bathroom. I guess they were mad because they had to go and fix it. But Patrick has included on here the provisions.
Right. The changes.
Georgia is among 3 states that don't have specific requirements for livability. That's why we have so many slumlords, so many places that people have lived for years and years and years and paid that little rent. And when they demand something be done because of unsafe places, the folks want to
they want to
jack up
evict
the
them. Well, normally they'll evict
uh-huh,
them, or they'll
uh-huh.
and they don't. And the thing about it is, Miss Lucas, we got people that are sitting in this courtroom that are, evicting these people, just because there's nothing in place that, if the landlord
That
say that they don't
that's
want
right.
them, they don't want them to live there anymore, then they have a right to Section 8 housing authority is a little different, but you got people who are not on Section 8 who actually pay the full
Market
rent.
rate,
Yeah,
yeah.
market rent. So
Uh-huh.
they can just go down there and say, well, I don't want the money, I just want them to move, and then they have to move. So
Mhm.
a lot of time that's what happens when you're vocal about you wanting repairs. And I just encourage people, um any repairs you need to put it in writing. Don't call the landlord on the
Right,
phone and tell them,
right,
because they're gonna say you didn't, they were not
right.
aware of it.
Patrick says that the Atlanta Journal Constitution found that Georgia is among 5 states that don't provide a grace period for late rent. Landlords under the new provisions would be banned from cutting off air conditioning
Right.
prior to completion of an eviction action. State
Hmm.
law currently makes it unlawful for a landlord to cut off heat, light, or
Right.
water.
Right.
Security deposits would be capped at no more than 3 times the monthly rent. I think you mentioned that.
Well, we're actually trying to get it changed
Uh
to
huh.
to 1 or 2 times the rent.
Hmm.
Right.
Georgia is among 2 dozen states that lack a cap on security
Right.
deposits.
Right.
Tenants say the stiff deposits, along with ever increasing fees, make it impossible for them to move from dangerous apartments. The
Right.
eviction process would be expedited for tenants who have recently been charged or convicted with certain crimes, including violent felonies or
Right.
sexual offenses, or have committed a crime threatening the health, safety, or welfare of others. And if you come to Ask Elaine to the Glory Facebook Live, you will see all of these references, all of these
Right.
um, references to these different articles. You can read all of them yourself, and you can get all the details. But the main thing is you need to be a member of the NAACP, because you see that there are so many things
Right.
going on that this organization is trying to combat, and they need your help. If you can't be actively involved, you need to be a member,
Right.
because that helps to give them the strength. Because folks read, they go and look. When they see the NAACP come up there and you have a press conference, you protest, then they look back. They can look at the records and see how many people are members.
Right.
They
Right.
know
Right.
that. And that's what I keep saying. That's why you don't get what you're supposed to have, is because you're not as vocal as some people.
Right.
The areas where the services are provided the quickest, the best, your sidewalks don't look as good as those sidewalks over somewhere
Hmm.
else. Your street
Right.
falls in and cracks up,
Hmm.
a
That's true.
year after it's
Right.
done. And over there, it looks
Right.
real smooth,
Right.
stays for years and years. Some sidewalks that have been put in for ages, still
Still
looking
look.
good.
That's right.
And then some of our areas, we got a sidewalk in and it's
Hmm.
peeling up and cracking up bricks.
Already. Already.
uh, I'm telling you, if you let your voice be heard, and each one of you has a commissioner, and then there's some people calling me because
Hmm.
they don't want to
Call
call.
them.
Your commissioner ran and was
Well, I guess.
elected just like me, you know.
But they, I
And
guess.
all I'm saying is, I understand that everybody doesn't
Right.
act in an assertive way like you want them to, but make them do that.
Right.
Make them do that. And then there's sometimes when you'll call us black elected officials,
Hmm.
you won't call a white elected official with a problem.
Right. Right.
Make them do their work too. And I'm not saying there are any who don't do, y'all. I'm just saying that you don't call them like you call us. And so call yours. If yours, whomever it is, call them
Right. That's
and
right.
and tell them your problem and ask them to do something about it. Okay, we have a phone call. Caller, welcome to
Yes,
Ask Elaine.
yes. I just want to say that you two are two of the hardest working women that I know. And I hope my daughter done paid my dues for the NAACP. I had never had to use you, but I do know we all that rent need to join because we are getting peoples are getting put out. Their
Hmm.
rent are getting raised. We scared to say anything about what needs fixing because they will put you out
You're
and
right.
they'll raise your rent to where you can't pay it, and then you got nowhere to go. And everybody that listening that rents like I do, we need to be a member of somebody gonna help us because it's bad now. It's just
It is.
sad the way that landlords are doing people
Yes,
that rent
ma'am.
now.
It
And we
is.
are,
It's
like I said, you're scared to say anything about what's going on at the house because they get mad and they want to put you out. And it don't mean that I ain't paying my rent.
Yeah,
It means we will do this because we can.
because
And
they
I think
came
it
in.
right.
should be some kind of law passed on something like this because this is ridiculous. You got people that trying to help the homeless, but then you got people making people homeless. And y'all just
Hmm.
keep up the good work and may God continue
Well,
to
thank
bless
you
you
for
Thank
your
all.
you. Thank you.
call.
Thank you so
But now
much.
the law that was West Brooks and Miss Bryant that they were referencing are proposed changes
Right.
in Georgia law because
Right.
Georgia just is behind on
We
Georgia,
are.
Mississippi, Alabama,
Hmm.
Louisiana,
We
Tennessee,
Well,
right.
I don't know,
they're
and
just
and
We're just
Louisiana
lagging.
will
behind
start.
in
You
the
all will
laws.
get it done.
But there's vestiges of slavery are still there,
It
and
sounds
they're the
sad.
ones that are trying to control everybody's body. They're trying to tell you, where you can be, where you can't, where you can build, where you
Right.
can't. They're the ones that are trying to be in charge of everything. So we have got to fight back. And even though you might not be an active part
Hmm.
of an organization, you can join. And this young lady who just called us, thank you so very much because you can witness to what we've been
Right.
saying.
And we will be having a town hall meeting coming pretty soon about the housing issues to kind of give people
Hmm.
an update and let people express their concern. Hopefully we can get, I'm sure Senator Lucas will be glad to participate. We need to get
Right.
our solve. We need to get these type of people here at this town hall meeting
That's
when we
right.
have it because they need to know how serious it is in making with these with these landlords, the laws that's, it's really no law really
Oh, yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
For those, we've got 2 or 3 minutes left, and we would love to have another call from someone. The call in number is 478-250-1444. And we just appreciate all of you who have tuned in today with us, those who are on AM, FM, those who are on Facebook Live. And y'all, please like and share this program because we want as much of this information disseminated far and wide so people can join and help. The main thing that you can do is if you're not a member, you
You
can
need to
join.
join.
The information is right here. You can join. Um, I'm going to be posting my new phone number. I'm so proud of having a phone. No. Do you know how frustrating it is? We got another call. Caller, welcome
Hey,
to
this Wade.
Ask Elaine.
Hey, this Wade. How you doing?
Wade, how are
Hey, Wade.
you?
I'm good. How you doing, Miss Westbrook?
All right, how are
Uh,
you?
I just wanted to say I was listening to the last caller, and just because the landlord want to put you out, that don't give them uh, the
Wade,
reason that
speak
you want
up.
to get
We
out.
hear that you hear that
Oh,
music, don't you?
I hear the music. I would say make sure they go to court and let the judge hear it because they can't put you out for anything. If you're paying your rent and you're not destroying the place, more than likely the judge is not going to throw you out.
But this
It's,
this
that's not
hearing
the
is
law
going to
though.
be real important because we can work together to
Right.
try and help people who don't feel like they have,
Right.
they don't have that courage to step out.
Right.
So, Wade,
Right.
in addition to us fighting these fare increases, we got to fight for these folks who don't feel like they can fight for themselves and staying in a
Right.
decent
Exactly.
place.
So we actually be in court with these people when they go to court with this housing issues.
Yeah, yeah. We got to continue this. Thank you, Wade. We'll
You're
see you at
welcome.
the next Macon Transit Authority meeting, which is what, that last Tuesday of the month. We're gonna crowd them out, and I want them to say again that they hate us. They can just hate on. I don't care.
We got to deal with that.
Yes, yes. Thank you so very much for tuning in to Ask Elaine. We just appreciate you so much. We hope that you've learned something today. Keep in touch with us, and we'll see you again next Wednesday for another edition of Ask Elaine. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Ms. Westbrooks.
You're
You've been
so
just a
welcome.
fountain of information. We're going to have you back again real soon.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.